All right. Week 1, first round of the playoffs. Say what's up to everybody in the GFFL. I'm not in a good mood. So probably a pretty short one tonight, unless Baltimore's defense can do something for me. I'm thinking that I'm probably going to be saying sayonara after putting up almost 150, which is a tough thing to swallow. But Uncle Rico's got a really good team, and I think he'll be one of the guys that'll probably end up there at the end. But we can talk about that later. So tonight we're just going to kind of go through the games and then talk about potential matchups next week. So we could just start with the top of the bracket with Whitus and Matt.
It went well.
Yeah, Whitus pretty much did what Whitus has done all season. Put up 146. He's still got a couple guys to go. Matt, you just didn't get anything from your guys this week. Put up 80. Made the playoffs first time, with that. I can't believe you made the playoffs with your team. So, I mean, that's, I think that's a mini victory for you.
Yeah, it doesn't sting any less, but thanks.
Yeah. So he'll be moving on to the next round. And then we got the next game. We got Tim against Mokel, which, I think that was one that we all had trouble trying to figure out who was going to win. So, Matt, I'll let you go ahead and talk about this one.
Yeah, I have in our notes that we teetered last week and gave it to Mokel. My reasoning was mostly because of Josh Jacobs, and he did end up playing. He was okay. I think he got Tim like 7.5, but Russ turned back into fashion with a great matchup.
Yep.
And then also, David Montgomery had a fantastic game for Tim, so he pulls out the win there. So he's going to have a big, tall order with Whitus next week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, we'll go through all these lineups and talk about the winners, and then we can talk a little bit about what we think will happen next week. But, there's the depth is a little tough for Tim. He doesn't have as much depth and players to choose from as Whitus. Before we talk about your game, we'll go into Becker's game. Playing CD away, another new guy, first year, had a pretty tough team coming into it. He made the playoffs too, so congrats to him. And Becker's almost the same, mimicking Whitus, kind of doing what he does all year, just consistent. Throws a good lineup out there every week, even without Saquon and CMC. And, lost Dak Prescott, fortunate enough to have Aaron Rodgers now. Made a great move earlier in the season to acquire Mike Davis. He shows up in a big way. Made some good trades. One of the trades he made was for Mike Evans. He really didn't do a whole lot, but across the board, he's got a really, he's got a really top 5 guy in every position. If you really look at it, if you look at his running backs, running backs, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, who he's got in his flex, who he's got at tight end, even his kicker, his defense, he's got a really solid match, really solid squad. And he also has a lot of guys on his bench that are maybe not consistently putting up points, but they have the ability to put up points, and they've done it in a game or two. And he seems to start the right guys at the right time. So, he's moving on. And then we got a game that you're in now with Uncle Rico.
Yeah.
By far the best game this week. You were talking about it earlier. You were looking yesterday for a while you were looking like you were going to run away with that.
Yeah, I was really confident yesterday until about 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
and it just kept getting worse and worse. Not worse, but I mean, he just kept playing. He just, he stayed with me, not stride for stride, but I mean, once his guys got going, his horses, he was right back in it. And, it's really looking like Tyreek Hill and Miles Sanders, even like his kicker, and the defense, like those are some big, a lot of points right there. That's, he made up the ground for Zeke and
Yeah.
who else was it? Ingram, and Godwin. So I thought I was good after 1 o'clock after Ingram and Godwin. Those guys didn't really put up much, but
And I'm,
the case.
yeah, and he really, I mean, there's nothing really that I see that he could have done differently,
Right.
for his lineup. So, obviously it feels great to win, but when you got to play a perfect lineup to win, and other than I think maybe, Godwin only scoring him 2.5, you're not realistically, no one's going to look at his lineup and go, yeah, I'm going to start, Gabriel Davis over Godwin or something like that. That's going to pick him up a few more points.
Yeah.
So, like you said, the defense and the kicker were huge for him this week. Otherwise, it is over. And then Lamar with his big first half. I still think this game's really, really close. I think it's a coin flip.
The only way that I think I have a chance is if they score on defense. And I don't even know if that will be enough because it's still a tight game. It's going to be a tight game, So, I mean, I'm really bummed out. I felt, I wasn't like 100% coming into this game, but I was like, you know what, if I get 8-9 points from my defense, that's tough to overcome. But I mean, they're not getting anything. They're not getting any sacks. They're not forcing any turnovers. It's just it's tough to watch. Like I talked about this earlier in the season. It sucks. It sucks being the person out front, and you're sitting there watching another guy score, and it's I hate it.
Yeah,
it's so frustrating and it's so irritating. And I mean, you know me, I hate losing. Like I won't play Madden with you and Stowe because I can't stand losing all the time. So I'm kind of like pretty irritated tonight, and sums up the weekend of football for me with the Steelers losing and everything. So that's always a whammy whenever the Steelers lose and then I lose in fantasy. So needless to say, I'm not too happy, but I do think Uncle Rico, he'll prevail, and barring an injury, probably, he'll be moving on to the next round.
Maybe Lamar's going to put those cleats on that are going to be a little bit longer, and his foot's going to get stuck in the grass.
Yeah. So if we look forward and we look into next week,
yeah, you're going to have Whitus. Tim's got his wrapped up, so you're going to have Whitus against Tim.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit about that matchup, and then we'll talk about the Becker versus either you or Rico matchup.
So as far as I'm going to pull up Tim's roster. If you want to pull up Whitus's.
Yep.
Tim's going to have Wilson.
I know his well.
He's going to pull up Wilson, or he's going to have Wilson playing next week. And let's see here. Jacobs, Montgomery. Really he's going to have to figure out who to play at receiver. I mean, he'll play Juju and Jarvis. But he'll have to figure out who that third receiver is and his flex. Pittsburgh's defense, if I were Tim, I probably would start looking for another defense maybe to stream, just because Pittsburgh's defense they're decimated, and it'd be nice if he could get John Brown back. That would be a good shot in the arm, I think, for him. But I just don't think Tim has enough. I think he's had a pretty fortunate season having Russell Wilson just really tear it up. Having a quarterback that can score almost 30 points a week, that can mask some of the the issues that you have, but. White is his team's they would have to lay like the ultimate turd.
Yeah, I look at Whitus's team, and I've just briefly gone through and started looking at his big players and who they're playing next week, and really it's not a good sign for Tim. Josh Allen's going against Denver. It's a pretty good matchup for him. Jonathan Taylor, who looked like he's got that workhorse back in Indiana, he's got a pretty good matchup going against Houston. Aaron Jones in Green Bay, he's got a good matchup going against Carolina. Stephon Diggs, he's playing Denver, decent matchup. He's been the most targeted and has the most catches in the league.
Right.
He's only got, I think, 4 or 5 touchdowns on the year, but when you're going for consistency, it's there from him. DK Metcalf, like, stud. Calvin Ridley, he's another stud, good matchup against Tampa Bay. No matter how that game goes, if it's a shootout, that's only better for Whitus. So, yeah, I think Whitus wins this and gets himself to the championship game.
You just look at
Whitus. Tim would love to prove us wrong a couple times this year, but
yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone in the league would pick Tim to. You're welcome for Diggs. Yes, you're very welcome, Whitus. No, it's I would say Whitus has 4 guys that it doesn't matter who they play. With Diggs, I think he's a good he's automatic. Jones is automatic. DK's automatic, and so is Calvin. I don't think you ever think oh well, he has a tough matchup. Those guys, I think they're just going to eat no matter what. So I think he's got a good squad. He built himself a good team, and I really foresee him in the finals.
Yeah, and Tim, I don't know who he's starting at tight end next week.
Yeah,
Noah Fant didn't get him any points. He had an illness or went out or something, but he doesn't have another tight end on his bench. So if he's not healthy, Tim needs to stream a tight end, which is not ideal when you're in the semifinals of a playoff.
Right. Yeah.
And I think he would concur.
Yeah. All right. So moving into the next, I'm going to just predict that it'll be Rico and Bob. Let's see here. So
always a pessimist, Hoover.
Well, come on, dude. It's freaking. He's down.
I mean, you're still a 76% favorite as of right now.
It ain't happening, dog. It's not happening. I wish the roles were reversed and I had Lamar going. I wish I was in his situation. So let's see here. Try to pull up. I'll pull up Rico if you want to pull up Bob.
All right.
If I can find him. There he is. All right. So just trying to take it won't show me next week who he's playing. How did you get that pulled up?
I just went into their roster and then I click on the little note right next to their name and then look at game log.
So, I mean, regardless, here's Rico's team. Lamar Jackson, Kamara, Elliott, Adams, Hill, Godwin, Miles Sanders. I mean, aside from anything else you need to know, I mean, his team is just so stacked. Hard to believe that he won as few games as he did this season with the squad he had. I mean, we pretty much talked about his team all year long and just how surprised we were. I think him and Whitus are, headed for a showdown for sure. I just think Bob has really, he just, a lot of people say fantasy is a lot of luck, which it is. But I could say honestly that Bob really just built his team this year and just really, I mean, he was on the mend and just plugging guys in and making trades. So, I mean, he really, I think, had a lot to do with, where he's at. And, I think it's awesome. But I just think Rico's team is just too much power, man, too much everywhere. It's crazy. I thought I was good, putting up almost 150 points. But so, I mean, we'll see. But, I think Rico, he's just got too much.
I don't know, man. There's something about Bob's team and the way he keeps winning that just – so Aaron Rodgers has been a fantasy stud this year. I mean, I know everyone's kind of talked to him, but they haven't talked about how consistent he's been. He's had one dud where he scored 3 points. He had another game that he scored 21 fantasy points. Other than that, his lowest fantasy game is 26.9. That's his lowest fantasy start, his third lowest fantasy start of this year. And if I would do an average, I bet he's averaging right around 30 points a game. So that's got to make you pretty confident coming out with Aaron Rodgers at the helm to be automatic for almost 30, facing Carolina. I think the big question mark, and I'd be curious as to what Bob thinks, is does he want Christian McCaffrey to be back in, but maybe not full bore? Or how do you know if he's like going to run the show?
Yeah.
Or do you want Mike Davis, who just came off a pretty good week? I mean, granted, he did have 2 touchdowns. He had 93, all-purpose yards. Caught the ball 5 times, so he's getting the receptions as well. Connor laid a turd this week, and the Steelers play Cincinnati next week. So I think that's a game that the Steelers try to figure out their running game a little bit more, and I think it's a good squad to do that against. So I think Connor has a better game. His receivers, I don't think match up quite as well. But Darren Waller's been a guy that has had some studly games.
You're right.
So if I had to pick, I am with you. Huh? I am with you. I think I'd take Rico. But I could definitely see it. I could definitely see multiple scenarios where Becker wins the game.
Yeah. All right. So Lamar had a huge play there. He's within 3 points now.
Well, let's talk about the alternative. What if you play Becker?
Let's not.
Okay.
Just leave it there. The one thing that I'll say about Bob's team,
touchdown, not Lamar. That's good for you.
one of the things is that Rico has kind of like a block against Bob with Devontae Adams. So I think that's a big play in this as well. So I think you made a good case. If I'm Bob, I'd love to have Christian McCaffrey, and it's like I told you before we got on here. I want McCaffrey to practice all week long and come off the injury report, days before the game. If not, I just want Mike Davis because I want to know what I'm getting. But anyways, I think
a full functioning Christian McCaffrey can make that interesting too.
Definitely. But anyways, I want to watch myself lose and not be distracted. But so we'll talk more about maybe the championship next week. I don't know if we'll go Sunday or Monday. I guess we'll just play it and see how.
Maybe if the games are set Sunday, maybe do it Sunday. If not, we'll wait till Monday.
Definitely. So anyways, congrats to all the guys that are moving on and
the guys that are still fighting.
So, but until next week, we'll see you guys later.